calligraphy. For our next lesson, we're going to use a packet that I created to help us figure out how to hold the pen and start writing fancy letters in a calligraphy style. There are many videos on YouTube to show you how to draw different fonts and styles. We're going to try work with this packet today. The instructions say, in this packet you'll find several pages with shapes or alphabets or other words and instructions, plus some blank sheets. For every blank sheet you see, you should be copying the paper underneath it with your pen. Do not write them out by yourself. You're copying and tracing. This is just a practice book to get you to hold the pen correctly, which is basically the most important step in calligraphy. Let's practice writing my name. I've been using calligraphy pens for quite a long time, so I can write pretty fast. And I kind of made my own style as I went along. You're going to work through the packet using the style I've created, and then when you get to the end, you're going to make your own version of calligraphy letters. Let's look at the first page. When you look at a calligraphy pen, you're going to see that the tip of it is kind of cut, almost like a fingernail, the way a fingernail looks. That way you get a nice flat point. But if I turn my pen sideways, it's going to look a little bit like this. It's going to have a cut part on both sides. When you look at a regular marker, like a Crayola marker, this has a conical tip or a cone-shaped tip. When you write with a regular marker, you can write skinny, or you can lean it down on its side and you can write fat lines. A calligraphy marker means you're going to be able to write skinny and fat lines, but without turning the marker. So if I hold my pen the way you see in the picture, I should be able to trace these straight lines, and they should be nice and skinny. Now let's make a few of my own. Don't turn your pen, but I'm going to change the direction that I draw. When I draw these skinny lines going from right to left on a diagonal, I should then be able to take my pen and pull it to the other side, and a fat line will show up. I don't want to spin that pen in my hand. I want to leave the point that I'm looking at look like the fingernail. Then when I draw sideways, I should get a nice fat line as well. I'm not changing the direction of my hand. I'm not spinning the pen in my hand. I'm just going to change the way the color or the way the lines look by the way I'm holding it. Let's turn to the next page. This is a blank page. I'm going to copy what I see from here onto this page. This will give you lots of practice in holding the pen in the correct direction. If you are writing with your left hand, you're going to have a little bit more of a challenge because your art teacher is right-handed. And so it's a little tricky for me to hold it in my left hand. When you hold it in your left hand and you trace the lines just like we've been doing, you're going to see that instead of a skinny line, you're going to get a thick line. Everything is the opposite. So for left-handers, calligraphy is opposite day. When I trace them in this direction, I will have skinny lines if I'm using my left hand. If I'm using my right hand, I will have thick lines. Please trace all the lines and shapes on the paper. Go slowly to make sure you're getting the thickness that you see underneath. I'm not going to trace the entire page in real time because that wouldn't be very exciting. Some of the letters are backwards. Make sure you're paying attention. Now, just for fun, you can come over here to the instruction page. See where it says these are your practice shapes. Let's trace those words too. This time we're going to practice making some letters. Remember, page 3 is going to be traced onto the page that says copy, page 3 here. Work through each page of the packet slowly and carefully. You're going to find an entire alphabet coming up soon. Sometimes I wrote more than one lowercase letter just to try a different style. That's okay. Pay close attention to how you spell words. It's really easy to misspell when you're just focusing on writing and not paying attention to the letters themselves. Spacing is also very important. Tall letters need to be tall, not like lowercases. If you work through the whole packet, you got to the very last page, you'll see that it says you should write your first and last name. Keep the bottom of the letters sitting on each line. You're going to practice your first and last name 4 times here, but I'm also going to practice my first and last name 4 times here. So let's do math, ladies and gentlemen. 4 plus 4 is 8. I'm going to practice my first and last name here. This is your chance to try out different lettering styles. Next up, we're going to grab a piece of free draw paper. Anytime you've ever gone to the free draw box, you've always seen this copy paper that we got. It's a computer printed paper for computers that don't print this way anymore, and we always flip it over and use the blank side. This time we're going to use the lines. This is perfect paper for us to try and draw our own alphabet. I'm going to start by putting my letters 2 spaces wide. So let's start writing my own version of an alphabet. Now's the time for you to get creative. However, you don't want to get so creative that nobody can read your letters. Since my letters are the letters that were in the packet, they're going to look exactly the same as the letters that were in the packet because Miss Huffman is the one that wrote the packet. Your letters could look the same or similar, but they could look completely different. Again, let's remember that it still needs to be something that people could read. So we're not going to try and write in any kind of secret code. You're going to try and create your own alphabet style. Maybe your letters change as you're starting to write your alphabet. It might not show up right away. But till you get to the end, I'm hoping you're going to have a lettering style that you're happy with, so we can use it to make a final project. Our final project is going to be picking a quote or a phrase or saying from the packet and then writing it on fancy paper. Our free draw paper is not fancy enough for the next part. Ooh, make sure you're paying attention to what you're doing, otherwise you're going to forget letters in your alphabet. This is a good reason. We should probably not talk while we're trying to spell. I'm going to keep writing my alphabet. You should get started on yours.